Hey, this is Pavan. Welcome to Technofiles Up. Today we are going to talk about dot files. Um, as part of the series, I'll be making some videos on productivity, typically how you set up your system to work, and this is first among them. So let's get started. So, what are dot files? So, I know the general definition, but if we look at I don't know. This is complicated to search. So, any customizations that you have done to your environment or a desktop environment or things that you have customized yourself in your PC can be saved as a config file. In Linux, typically all the uh, settings or changes are saved as hidden files called as dot files. Okay, if we talk about, let me open my home folder here. So I pressed Control H and by which I brought up the hidden folders that are there in the folder structure, and you see that there are many files and these are hidden by default, and they start with dot in the beginning. So I'm pressing Control H again. The workspace looks clean, um, and the dot files typically contain the beneath the hood or the things that are needed for running your system. And many applications save their config related parameters in these dot files. So when I say dot files, there are some customizations that you have done for an application that you might be interested to save them and to retrieve them in the future, either in the same system when you format your PC or when you move across to different PC or different like you might have set up your user account in some other system and you want to bring all your configurations back from the system that you have defined them. So things like that, you can save them as dot files and store in a place like GitHub and retrieve them anytime whenever you want them to. So that's the typical purpose of a dot file. And as part of this, I'll walk through my dot files and see why or how we can maintain them. And also, I spun up a virtual machine so that you can see these dot files in action and how they can customize the system. Okay, so let us first walk through my GitHub folder structure for a dot file. There are many applications or these customizations are typically done in bash, and you can define it the way that you want them to be, but typically it is better to have a folder for an individual application, and you can in the main folder you can keep multiple dot files that belong to your home folder. um, there is an application called stow, GNU stow. Some people use this GNU store to activate some of the configurations that you might have. Like, what this store does is that it is nothing, it acts like a linker of, okay, I think I'm getting ahead of what I'm talking in theory. Let's see it in action and see how they apply. So here in this example, typically you might have, right? You will need git ignore file. Okay, I think this is typically, there may be multiple folders that are inside your configuration directory and you want to ignore certain configs to get added to this, and that's why I added git config, but that is not part of the dot file. So this git config is something that you need. I mean, typically when you have git installed, right? So git global config, I guess, git config global. So git config is a command using which you set up your user account and specifically name and email. That file gets saved in your home folder as .git config file. So I added that to the um, folder. And typically when you install your system, right, you have some sort of applications that you want to install before you want to um, do anything. For example, be it Chrome browser or be it VLC or be it it's typically things that you need to start using the system. Um, I have written a script to install them. So in the scripts, I have initial setup file. So for this, okay, there are a bunch of things that are happening here. Let us go through one by one. So JQ is a JSON parser using which you can read a JSON file in a terminal. And I'm trying to install that first in the system so that I can read the config in JSON. So I've maintained that. Let us see where it is reading from. So it is reading from jq.minimal packages and packages.json. So I maintain that file in packages.json. So where is it? Here. So these are the list of installation candidates that I want to have in my system. Like, BSPWM is a window manager. We will talk about this window manager and specifically about tiling window managers in future videos. Build essential is something if you want to um, build a package from source code. I mean, these may be a little complicated for this video, or I want to keep the video simple. So let's not talk about the application that I want to install, but assume that I have VLC here and I have a NeoVim. These are some of them. Git. Okay, Git is one of the applications that you want immediately after you install your system. So and these are minimal packages, and apart from that, you might need something on top of it, like only if you want it, or if it depends on system to system. So I maintain that as additional packages. So initial setup script runs and installs those minimal packages, and I have additional setup file that runs additional config, and as well as I think no, it doesn't install it, so it's fine. Um, so each script has a purpose here, so you can customize your things accordingly depending on your need. But I have written these scripts myself to um, fit to my requirement. Okay, so first script is initial setup.sh, which is important for me to install those applications. And then there are terminal adjustments. Like if you look at the terminal, I typically use black and white combination in Ubuntu, the famous purple and white, I guess, the default terminal. And also there are some customizations. If you see here, um, I disabled the system font and I'm using Fira code font. This Fira code font is also available in the repo. Um, and I changed the name of the profile to Pavan. That profile name is here. Like if we go to advanced, no, I think it is in pre preferences, and you see that profile name there. So things like that, the customizations, once you're done, you can save that as um, the customizations here. These are terminal customizations. And the way that I have done in this is that, I can use the install command to install it and uninstall command to uninstall those changes as well. Um, so those are running from here, GNOME terminal, and click to minimize. Okay, in Ubuntu, right, when you click on the application, it doesn't get minimized. So I have installed that additional uh, customization here. When you click on the application, that gets minimized. So things like that, which you want to customize, you can write it in a script. And this volume up, volume down, these are specifically for my BSPWM setup, this is not needed at the moment to talk. Um, there are more like, alternate, like for example, you might have a custom bashrc file. Bashrc is the first script that gets executed when you open the terminal. So you can maintain that as .bashrc in one of these config folders, or you can write a script that appends that to the .bashrc file. So here, you know, it is trying to read that file and trying to append this particular piece of logic to that .bashrc file so that you have the updated bashrc file. We will see that inside this script you can see that um, there is logic to execute neo fetch, and there is powerline setup. Powerline is nothing but your if I open the terminal here, you see this beautiful looking um, system info and um, the login prompt or the details like that. You can customize your terminal like this, and these are some of the configs associated with it. um, so like that you can keep making those changes. If you have to add external sources, like for example I need OBS installed in my system, so I added the repository in another script, sources.sh. At startup, there is an app called Nitrogen that is used typically for setting up the background in your system. This is a startup script that I have written. This I will use in case of uh, BSPWM. BSPWM is a window manager. I mean, let's not talk about that at the moment. I have written an additional uh, file for normal purposes, as in, like, there is a dot desktop shortcut that you can write, and you can add that to the startup. Just a second, I think I have placed it somewhere. Anyway, we can see how this sort of things will come together when we look at the demo. But this is just a walkthrough. Like, if in the fonts folder I have placed multiple fonts that I typically need in my system for coding purposes. Vera Code is one font that I need, so I've placed that in the fonts folder. Alternatively, you can download from Git and put it in the folder where you want. This is NeoVim configuration for your coding environment. You can add the configuration for that here in NVim, and we'll see how we link them. Okay, so I have written a script called linker.sh. So there is a hard link and soft link concept where you can link one config folder. Like for example, if I look at my system, right, this is the existing system. If I try to ls-al, you see this that the Steam path is actually in this current home folder, but it is pointing towards something else. Similarly, if you look at my .git config file, it is actually pointing to one of the files in my .files folder instead of the actual file here. There is no actual file here, but when I linked it, a file got created here, but the actual root folder is in that location. So that is one of the files here. If I open the .files folder, right? No, it is not in the .files folder. Typically all the files are in .config. Like majority of the configuration sits in .config folder. So if I use ls-al here, so the nitrogen config is coming from .files/nitrogen, and sxhkd configuration is coming from the .files folder. Uh, So the Alacrity configuration is coming from there. Auto start. This is where I have written the application that need to run at startup. So if I open the dot files auto start here, you see that there is a nitrogen.desktop file. So typically you can create a file like this, and they get executed when if you place this sort of file in your auto start folder. Mm, so that is getting pointed to there, the BSP AWM config. So things like that. You can take the config that is there in this um, config folder and create a separate folder out of it and try to link it to your dot files folder. So let's see how that works. Okay. Let me spin up the virtual box. Okay, this is my virtual fresh virtual box. I created a copy out of it if I make any mistake so that I can demo once again. um, I don't need that at the moment. So first things are first, right? We definitely need Git installed to be able to download the dot files from Git location. So I just installed this system, sudo apt get update -y will update the repos, and then come on, apt get install git. I named my dot files as dot files hyphen capital Ubuntu. So what I can do is git the clone https github.com/. By the way, I'm in desktop folder. I want to do this. I want to place that config in my root folder as in home folder under dot files folder. So what I'm gonna do is I switch to home directory by cd tilde sign and then git clone https github.com/dot files hyphen ubuntu, and I want to place these files in our dot files folder. So now we downloaded those files here in this system. So if I press Ctrl H, you will see that there is dot files folder here. Okay, so we brought in those configurations into this system. Now we have to start linking them. So as I said, I wrote the linker script. Um, but before that, let's see. There is an install.sh command using which we can link all the configurations. Um, but even before that, I want to run the um, setup initial setup so that everything all the applications that I need will be installed. So I can execute the steps are written in the readme file in the GitHub itself. You can use that. So if I type if an init, this is from dot files folder, so I need to cd into that and then dot files initial setup. Okay, I need to cd into scripts folder as well, and then initial setup.sh. I am sure that it would need sudo privileges for installing. So it added a source that I have installed on sources.sh. So that's how it recognized that. There are okay. There is a problem with Visual Studio Code, and it messed up my appearance here. So, but you can see that things got changed to the terminal got changed to um, different look altogether. Let me close this terminal and open the terminal once again. There is a lot of line spacing here. I can adjust that using preferences, profile. You know, this is, I think, this is the width, right? I'm not sure what happened here. But yeah, if I maintain that config appropriately, these settings will look appropriate in a different system, I believe. But that's the whole point of writing a script, right? Did the font change or the font got installed? And that is the thing that I need to check. Profiles, custom font. Okay, yeah, the font got not installed. So Fira code. Yeah, the font is not installed. That's why you're seeing this problem. So um, ls-al cd dot file. Okay, I need to cd into the main folder, cd dot files ls. The fonts are there in the fonts folder, but I have linker script that actually will link the cat linker.sh. So in linker script, I should have the so initial setup ls cat. I think it is in initial setup install.sh. Let's look at install.sh file here once. So fonts, yeah, the fonts is linked here. So all I need to do is run this install.sh next. I'm going to cd dot files install.sh. Now if I exit and open it once again, oh sorry, this is in my term, it's a normal PC. So you should see that font now. Already things started looking a little better, but let me quickly confirm that. Yeah, it is still not recognized. Yeah, now you see that font here. So if I select, things should be better. I'll note that issue now, but you see that things started working fine. I don't know if Powerline is installed. It's not installed. I knew that the dot files need to be run with sudo script, so I think that could be the problem. Cd dot files ls cd scripts sudo install initial setup.sh. This should install all the things that are there in the minimal package. Unable to locate package code. Okay, so there is a problem with Visual Studio Code that is making this script run fail. So what I can do is I can open packages.json here. I think code should be here. All I can do is temporarily comment out that particular piece and then run this. So as you can see now, all the things are getting installed one by one that you have listed in your packages.json. So I don't need to worry about the missing packages as such. Like if you find out that if there is any package that you want to install in any system that you're working on, you just have to list that in the packages.json file, and that will be added to the install list in the future. So things like that. And we can also, I'll also show you how that config is linked now. That linker script actually binds using a hard link with all the config folders. So that is the purpose of actually the dot files. I mean, the whole purpose of this video is to demonstrate how dot files can help you set up your system, um, or customize to your taste and save those customizations for future purposes, so that you don't need to worry about what font I am using in your terminal, what font I'm using in, um, I mean, things like that. You get the idea. So there are multiple softwares that are getting installed in the system, so it is taking little time. Meanwhile, we can go through the dot files once again. So tmux is the terminal multiplexer using which you can have um, uh, split screens or split terminals. Definitely I am thinking that bashrc is not updated. Yep. So this bashrc is not updated. So what I can do is I can execute the test.sh. So now if I look at bashrc, okay, now Vim is actually mapped to NeoVim, and that's why there are some plugins that are being looked at. So this is because if you look at so it is trying to install all those packages, and that's why it is pointing an error in the. So all I need to do is I need to run the plug install command so that those. So that is a Vim specific command. You don't need to worry about it, but you can see that um, additional um, config got added. So this is okay. I think I'm nvim bashrc. I still don't see some of the things that I want to append to terminal, but that's fine. If done correctly, all these things should be automatically done instead of um, you trying to customize. This is the first time that I'm trying after some time, so it is taking um, time. But yeah, that's the thing that I want to demonstrate today. Hopefully you like this video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.